how bad did it get after 9/11 where the rules of like interrogating and that sort of thing changed?
That's a good question. You know, the dirty little secret was literally not one single CIA officer was trained in interrogation techniques. So as soon as we started catching these guys, I mean, I'd only been there but a week. We started catching them. And my boss is like, interrogate them. I'm like, I don't know how to interrogate people. I can interview them.
And what do you even wear, sneakers? I mean, what do you even put on to do something like that?
Yeah, I wore sneakers most days. Polo shirt, jeans.
Bro, you can't interrogate somebody in a polo shirt.
That's all I brought with me. That and sweatshirts. Because it was cold when I arrived.
You got to put on a Chicago Bears jersey or something.
Oh my God. It was so weird. See, in one of the early raids, we had also confiscated the Al-Qaeda training manual. Mm-hmm. Well,
do you still have one of those or not?
No. I turned everything in. But you know what? It might be online. It might be out there now.
I want one.
So I was, I spoke and read Arabic. And so we're going through the training manual and I'm translating it to the guys in my branch as I'm reading it. Well, everything that was in the manual, these prisoners would do as we would catch them. So I say, what's your name? The guy goes, oh, like he's having a ruptured appendix. Oh, what's your name? And he like pretends to faint and falls off the chair. And then he just kind of opens one eye to look at you. And I'm like, get the fuck up and get back in the chair. What's your name? And then like, do you hit him? Do you not hit him? Do you grab him by the shirt and shake? I didn't know what the rules were. So there were no rules.
And so what kind of environment, I mean, what did you end up having to do? Like, what do you do in those sort of situations? Like, are you responsible to garner information? Do you even feel like the people you're catching have real information? The shit sounds kind of vague.
Everybody has something. It's called the mosaic concept, where everybody's got a little tile in his brain. And if you collect enough tiles, you can put the whole picture together. So, I mean, some of it sounds comical now. I would say to the Pakistani lieutenant colonel that I was working with on a daily basis, I'd say, you want to be the good cop today? I'll be the bad cop, or you want to be the bad cop again? I'll be the good cop. And then we decide in advance. And I go in, we start talking to these guys. The first guy we captured, he was Jordanian. And they bring him in, he's shackled at the ankles, shackled at the waist, and then they undo the waist shackle and they chain him to an eye bolt in the table. So you have to know the answers to all the questions that you're asking, right? So I'm like, what's your name? He tells me his name. Where did you come from? I came from Tora Bora. And what happened in Tora Bora? The Americans began bombing us. And then where did you go? He said, I tried to escape. So I went into a cave and then the Americans bombed the cave and the guy like had blood squirted out of his ears and he had brain damage and finally made it across the border. I lay out a map. Tell me exactly how you got across the border. We knew what the rat lines were. And he told the truth. This is the way we came through this pass. Everything he told me was true. And so I said to him, he said, what's going to happen to me? And I said, honestly, I don't know. You're probably going to spend some time in jail here, and then we're going to send you to Jordan, and I don't know what the Jordanians are going to do to you, because he was Jordanian.
Yeah.
So I said to him, but let me ask you something. I know that what you told me was true. Why did you tell me the truth? And he goes, I'm your prisoner. What good would it do me to lie to you? He said, I know how these things work. I know that you knew the answers to these questions. It doesn't help me in any way to lie to you. Mm-hmm. And then I said, okay, thank you. And then he says, let me ask you something now. He said, I assume you're Christian. And I said, yes. And he says, I would like to invite you into the embrace of Islam, and I'll be your godfather. I said, well, thank you very much.
And what is that? It's almost like the Boy Scouts or something. I mean, he'd like as a scout leader, kind of like he'll be like your sponsor.
Yeah, like my sponsor. He's going to convert me to Islam, and I'm going to say,
which is Muslim, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And I said, yeah, thanks, but no thanks, and I wish you the best. And I remember saying to a colleague of mine, my God, if everyone goes like that, it's going to be incredible. The next raid we did, we bust down the door, 2:00 in the morning, and it's two kids. They're 19 years old from Tunisia, and they both just burst into tears.
Oh.
And so we cuff them, and one kid is just heaving, sobbing, and the other one is begging me to let him call his mother. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, you can't call your mother.
What'd they do?
They were Arabs without passports or visas in an Al-Qaeda safe house, and that was good enough for me.
Got it.
So we got to the point where we had literally filled the Rawalpindi jail in Rawalpindi, Pakistan. It's this gigantic city that's kind of attached to Islamabad. Islamabad's the capital, but it's very, very small. Rawalpindi is where the military is located, and it's like 5, 6, 7 million people there. So Rawalpindi jail, there it is. That's it. My God, I haven't been to the Rawalpindi jail in 24 years. I'll tell you what, I don't remember it looking that good either.
I've never been.
Well, yeah, thank your lucky stars.
Really?
Yeah, it's not good. So the PACs called me and they said, look, we've literally filled the jail. You got to do something with these guys. I said, okay. So I call headquarters. I said, the PACs are telling me that the jail's full. What do you want to do with them? They said, put them on a C-12 and send them to Guantanamo. I said, Guantanamo, Cuba? Why would we send them to Cuba? And they said, we came up with this idea. We're going to send everybody to Cuba, and then we're going to divide them up after we figure out what federal district court to charge them with. Because 9/11 was an open criminal investigation at the time, and the crimes were committed in the Eastern District of Massachusetts, hijacking, the Western District of Pennsylvania, hijacking, the Eastern District of Virginia, the Pentagon, and the Southern District of New York. I said, that's a great idea. So we just started loading these guys on an endless, parade of C-12 transport planes and sent them to Guantanamo. And then somebody in Dick Cheney's office, probably David Addington, although he's never admitted it, somebody said, you know what? These guys don't have any rights in Cuba. Why don't we just leave them there like forever? And here we are, 24 years later.
Some of them are still there?
And they're still there.
Most of them, you think?
34 of them. At the height, we had like 770, I think was when it was at its most full.
I went there one time to perform as a comedian.
Yeah.
Went down there and was performing for some of the troops there and stuff. And you got to see some of the, just the way you would fly in it.
See it in the distance.
Oh yeah. Well, the way you would fly in at night, they would fly in like this kind of crazy pattern. And
yeah, they do.
And it was lit up. It almost looked like a big wedding ring in the distance because they had like just these bright, bright lights, on the fences surrounding the base. And so you come in like at this crazy kind of pattern, and you kind of had to go around. We went from, I think
because you can't cross Cuban airspace.
I think we went from,
you have to go around and come up from the south.
We went from somewhere in Florida and went around.
Yeah,
it was pretty intense. I mean, it was interesting. And then we got to go right up by the detainee centers, and I think we even saw some guys playing volleyball and stuff. But were there tortures where people lost their lives? That you were involved in?
Not that I was involved in, thank God. There were,
But like, at what point do you call like one off that's getting out of hand? Like, have you been in one that was getting out of hand?
No, because when we were catching guys, we had not yet implemented the torture program. So the torture program was conceived and approved in October of 2001.
Okay.
I got to Pakistan in January of 2002. And we're like, what do we do with these guys? Well, the FBI's there with us. They're like, you can't like hit them, or you can't do anything to them. If they don't talk, then okay, we just send them to Guantanamo.
And because you ended up coming out and speaking out about torture that was happening.
Right.
But how would they let you do that if you weren't aware of it firsthand, though?
Well, because remember, I became the executive assistant to the deputy director.
Oh, so you would see the reports coming back. You'd see all the cables coming back in?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. Mm-hmm. Was some of it pretty intense, do you feel like?
Oh, it was bad. Most of the news outlets that I talk to, they make the biggest deal out of waterboarding. There's waterboarding right there. Mm-hmm. I think that there were techniques that were worse than waterboarding. Sleep deprivation is one. And in terms of causing death, the cold cell, you see sensory deprivation. That was also a terrible one.
What is that like?
Sensory deprivation, they put you in like an isolation tank, and you're surrounded by water, and you literally go crazy from the silence.
So you're in like one of those kind of one of those places you can go pay to do, and it's like quiet in there.
But instead of being in there for an hour or 2 hours, you're in there for 3 weeks.
Are they playing music or
no? It's complete silence and darkness, complete and total, like you're dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Rodgers does that.
I think that's nuts. But there were a couple that were worse than waterboarding. The cold cell. We strip the prisoner naked. You chain him to an eye bolt in the ceiling so he can't lay or sit or get comfortable.
Can you keep your underpants on? Or
No. Because the idea is to humiliate them. Oh. Remember, in their religion, nakedness is shameful.
Yeah.
Right? And nakedness in front of a woman. And we would have women interrogators strip them naked just to humiliate them. Yeah. You see this rectal feeding.
Rectal feeding?
Yeah, what we did is we forced tubes up their asses and then with a pump, pumped hummus up there just to insult their culture.
No way. Who was coming up with these ideas? I'm sure
there were two contract psychologists at the CIA, James Mitchell and Bruce Jessen.
Is that true? They came up with these plans?
Yeah, and we paid them $108 million of the taxpayers' money for it.
Wow. But when you look at, were these people criminals? I see, this is what's interesting.
That's the thing, Theo. They've never been charged with a crime.
Right.
So charge them, if these guys are as bad as we say they are, charge them with a crime. If they're as bad as we say they are, find them guilty, sentence them to death, and execute them.
We won't even charge people in our country who are committing a crime.
No.
So I think that it's like, that's like a problem that's been across the board is like, what is the crime? Charge somebody with a crime.
Yeah.
It's not happening in our own country.
But you
because
can't.
this is so wild to hear about because it's like, it's interesting, like just as a person, right? You're like, okay, did these guys do something really bad to kill people in our country, right? Were they doing really harmful stuff? Or they like...
And they were.
Right.
Yeah. But they confessed through torture. So none of it's admissible. None of it.
Right. Okay. So, but then it's like, it's like, how do you solve something like that? With more crime.
Well, there was a deal that was made during the Biden administration. So it was like the top 3 or 4, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Ammar al-Baluch, Ramzi bin Ashib, and somebody else. They agreed to plead guilty to terrorism, and what they got in exchange was life without parole and a promise not to send them to Supermax in Colorado because they said they couldn't deal with the cold. They wanted to stay in Cuba because it's warm. So life without parole. And Biden's Secretary of Defense vacated the deal. And he says, you can't make a deal like that. I have to make that deal because I'm the Secretary of Defense. And it went through the courts. And then the Biden administration, there it is right there.
The Biden administration, Department of Defense. And who were these 4 guys? They were the men accused of plotting.
Sheikh Mohammed, Walid bin Attash, Mustafa Hawsawi.
They were accused of plotting the September 11th terrorist attacks, right? The Biden administration, Department of Defense reached plea agreements with 3 prominent al-Qaeda figures, whom you just mentioned, accused of plotting the September 11th terrorist attacks. However, following intense political and public backlash, the administration moved to block the agreement and the courts later threw it out. So what happened to the guys? They're just still being held?
They're just still there. You see right there, the terms. They agreed to plead guilty to murdering 2,976 people in exchange for life without parole. Okay, so the deal was thrown out. So now what do they have? They have life without parole. That's the deal.
Right. Same thing.
It's the same thing. They're never going to be released.
But why didn't we? What was the reason why? Because the reaction from people?
It was really reaction from the Biden from the Biden Defense Department.
Well, this is 9/11 families too. I guess
the 9/11 families just want to chop everybody's head off. And I understand. I get it. I really do.
It makes sense.
I get it. But that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. We're a country of laws. We can't just pretend that we're a country of laws, except when the laws aren't convenient for us.
But if you kill enough people, it seems like you would face the death penalty.
Yes, but you have to blame the CIA for that. If the CIA hadn't tortured these guys, they would all have been executed.
I see. It was inadmissible.
It's all inadmissible.
Got it.
They confessed to everything.
Understood.
But it was all under torture. And so you can't do anything with them. Now, there's no evidence against them. None.
I can't even imagine what it's like to be some of those families and just the drawn out of all of that.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's been 25 years in September.